This class opener is obviously a review of what we were doing, combining like terms and distributive property. On number one, are we multiplying anywhere? No.
No, you're switching.
Right? There's a minus sign here. There's a minus minus, so we're going to switch that to a plus plus. And there's a minus sign over here. So we're just simply adding and subtracting all the way through. And there's 4 terms. Out of those 4 terms, we're going to combine the x's with the x's. And whenever I combine terms, I like circling them or boxing them in or underlining. So a negative 2x and a positive 4x. I want to combine both of those. That gives us a positive 2x. And yes, when we combine the 3 with the minus 7, that's like having $3 and owing $7. You're going to owe $4. So your answer is 2x minus 4. And you can't really do anything else with that, because they're not like terms. This is an x and this is a number. Now, number 2 actually has both distributive property and combining like terms. Now, since we know, let me get this out of the way. Yeah, since we already know that multiplication comes before subtraction or addition, we need to do multiplication first. So I like to include the minus sign that's in front of the 3, make it look like a negative 3, and distribute negative 3 times 2x, that's negative 6x. And then negative 3 times negative 4, I like to call that a negative 4 instead of a minus 4. That's really positive 12. So because it's a positive 12, I'm going to put a plus in front of the 12. And then I'm going to bring down everything else. So I'm going to bring down the 5 that's out in front and the plus 7x that's at the end. And now I have those 4 terms, 2 of which are x's and 2 of which are numbers. So of course we're going to combine the terms that are alike. The negative 6x, combine it with the positive 7x. So that just leaves you x, that's right. And you know what, let me write my answer to the side so we don't run out of space. So my answers are going to be just a regular x, and then when I combine this 5 with this 12, I get positive 17. So my final answer for number 2 is x plus 17. So we did a combining like terms, and then we did both a distributive property with combining like terms. These next 4 problems are dealing with multiplying fractions. Now we're going to practice this because we're going to be doing some distributive property problems today that involve distributing fractions, which means you need to know how to multiply fractions with other fractions and fractions with numbers. So if I take a look at number 3, there are several ways. Well, actually, there's only one way of doing this one. We put this 3 over a 1 to make it look like a fraction. Then after that, you multiply the top with the top, the numerator with the numerator, and the denominator with the denominator. So when I multiply the numerator with the numerator, negative 3 times positive 1, that's negative 3. And on the bottom, 1 times 2, that's 2. And there's my answer, negative 3 halves. And of course, you could change that improper fraction to a mixed fraction if you want. On my quiz, you could leave it as an improper. But let's say you're taking a multiple choice test. 3 divided by 2, it'll go in 1 time. You'll have a remainder of 1 over the original 2 that you were dividing by. So the answer is 1 and 1 half. So you could rewrite it as negative 1 and 1 half. But this is totally fine with me. Number 4, we're going to do the same exact thing. However, you do have an option on number 4. You could put the 12 over 1. And then after that, we could actually, instead of saying 2 times 12 and getting 24 and then 3 times 1 and getting 3, see, we'd have to divide 24 divided by 3. We'd have to reduce. We could actually cancel first, which is really reducing first and then multiplying. So it's totally up to you if you want to multiply first and then reduce, or if you want to reduce first by canceling and then multiply. So if you see a 3 up on the bottom and a 12 up on top, on top, I have the 12 that's really being divided by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So you see how I canceled out the 12 and the 3? If you don't like canceling, you don't have to. You could just multiply top with the top, bottom with the bottom, and then reduce later. But anyways, by doing this step, I now have a 2 times 4, which is 8, and a 1 times 1, which is a 1. And you don't even really need that over 1. Anything divided by 1 is simply that same value. So you could just leave it as 8 being the final answer right there on number 4. Yay? Okay. Number 5. Right here we have 2 fractions. Okay, so do we want to multiply first and then cancel, or cancel first and then multiply? Cancel first? All right, so what could I cancel?
3 and 9.
The 3 and the 9 and the 2 and the 10. Okay, so 3 and 9, I could reduce the 3 and the 9 by 3, right? 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then the 2's, I could divide the 2 and the 10 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So what do I have here? Multiply top with the top. 1 times 3 is 3. And then on the bottom with the bottom, 1 times 5 is 5. And let's not forget that we had a negative times a negative, which is a what? Positive. So there's our answer, 3/5. There's our answer, 3/5. Number 6, it looks ugly, but it's really not that bad. It's nice to cancel things out here because, I mean, I don't even know what 6 times 49 is or 7 times 72. Those are going to get huge, huge numbers. So it's way easier to recognize that there's a 7 down here and a 49. Both 7 and 49 are divisible by 7 itself. So you could actually say 7 divided by 7 is 1, 49 divided by 7 is 7. And with the 6 and the 72, well, you could reduce both by 6, right? Or you could reduce by 2 if you wanted to and get a 3 up here and a 36 down here and then reduce by 2 again, or by 3 that time. Wait a minute, I messed that up. Anyway, it's easier to just reduce by 6, right? If you reduce by 6, 6 divided by 6 is 1, 72 divided by 6 is 12. So what do we have left up here? We have a 1 times 7, that's 7. We have a 1 times 12, that's 12. So your answer is 7/12, but we have a positive number times a negative number. So my answer has to be negative. So negative 7/12 is my answer for number 6. I hope we understand how to multiply with fractions because it's going to be on our practice today. So here's the practice that you're going to be working on today. Now, some of them are very straightforward, like number 1, distributing the 2 or distributing a negative 3. But the ones that I find more interesting that I want to go over with you right now is like number 3 or 5 or 6 because we have fractions. So let's take a look at number 3. I need to distribute the fraction 2/3. Yeah, so you could distribute it there, and of course you're going to put the 6 over 1, like you said, and you're also going to put the 5 over 1. Now, it might be a great idea to show your work when you distribute it to each, all right? Now, what do I mean by that? You don't have much space on your paper. You're going to have to write really small, but check this out. If I write the 2/3 and put times, and then put that 6 over 1 with the x on the side, that would represent me distributing this 2/3 to that 6. And then put 2/3 times that 5 over 1. Let's actually write it out. The 2/3 times the 5 over 1. Now keep in mind that there was a minus sign in between here, so I want to put the minus sign right in between here. Just drops. And now it really becomes 2 problems where we're multiplying fractions, okay? And we're going to get an answer to multiplying these 2 fractions, get an answer to multiplying these 2 fractions, and put a minus sign right between them. Okay. So in the first multiplication of fractions, what should we do? What would you like to do? Multiply top with the top, bottom with the bottom, and then reduce? Or do you want to cancel out? Whoa.
Cancel.
Cancel? Okay, so what could we cancel right here? The 3 on the bottom with the 6 up on top. Can't cancel 2 with 6 because they're both up on top. So it's really a 6 up on top with the 3 on the bottom. They're both divisible by 3. So let's say I reduce by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So what's my answer going to be to this multiplication problem? 4 over 1. And you don't really need the over 1. So just the 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. And it does have an x. And again, we don't need to do 1 times 1. That's just going to be a 1. You don't need to put it over a 1. So there's your answer, 4x. Now this one over here, let's do this problem. Could I cancel anything here? I cannot, right? Can't. Okay, so let's just multiply. 2 times 5? 10. Let me show my, over here, 10. And 3 times 1? 3. And we do have a minus sign right between them. So our answer is going to be a 4x minus 10 over 3. You can't really do anything with that. That's your answer. See, it's not that bad, right? You just got to, the safest thing to do is to rewrite it 2/3 times 6 over 1, 2/3 times 5 over 1, and do both those multiplication problems right here, and then get your answers. Right? I believe I could let you guys do the rest of those. Down here, we have a combination of distributed property and combining like terms, right? I believe we're going to have I shouldn't even say this, pop quiz maybe tomorrow. Yeah.
But pop quizzes you're not supposed to know about.
Okay, I didn't say anything then. Okay. All right, anyway, so I highly recommend you guys work on this stuff. Would anybody like to see any other one?
No, we're good.
You're good?
Yeah.
All right, so let's work on this for the rest of class. The answers are written on the back. I might have made a mistake, so let me know if you don't agree with my answer. Thanks.